Sometimes super teams work. Sometimes they fail. And even sometimes it fails twice. All of this takes place from the off-season of the NBA landscape. And you want to watch this full video because we are looking at the highly anticipated off-season where we will see all of the major moves made in free agency and the 2025 NBA draft selections. To start, we have the retirement of former Hawks player and 76ers coach Doc Rivers. We also have the retirement of former MVP and fan favorite Derrick Rose, who just contributed to a championship. And maybe the most long-awaited retirement of all sports history besides Tom Brady, LeBron James has retired officially. LeBron will go down as one of the greatest sports players of all time and an icon of basketball. CP3 as well retired, but sadly could never get a ring before the end of his career came. Both Chris Paul and LeBron being clear Hall of Fame candidates, both of them making it immediately first ballot. 5 jerseys were retired in the offseason this year, 3 of them by just LeBron himself, as well as debatably the greatest Raptor ever, Kyle Lowry, as well as the top 3 point guard of all time, debatably Chris Paul. After the historic jersey ceremonies, LeBron joins elite company with Wilt Chamberlain as the only players to ever have their jersey retired by 3 different organizations. We now jump to the NBA lottery, where the Blazers, after an awful season with Damian Lillard, have the number 1 odds at the first overall pick, while the Rockets, after a mediocre season that ended in a first round exit, get the second best odds from the James Harden trade they made years earlier. Even the reigning champs, the Utah Jazz, have a lottery pick from the Rudy Gobert trade they made with the Timberwolves. And after everything is said and done, the top 5 drafting teams consist of the Orlando Magic, Indiana Pacers, the Portland Trail Blazers, the Detroit Pistons, which means the Houston Rockets end up with the number 1 overall pick after having the second best odds. This is just the second time they have had the number 1 pick in the last 3 years. The last time they picked Izzy Ball. It's going to be very interesting to see what teams end up picking and who trades the pick, especially the Rockets. They can get a very good deal with the number 1 overall pick. Maybe a Zach LaVine type player or more Zach LaVine, Lonzo Ball package. Or could even try to get a Kawhi Leonard, a guy that's more old but more proven to be a championship contender. Or they can draft Izzy's replacement, maybe a point guard or a small forward. Or they can just draft more for the future, keep Izzy, and just keep as a young team. Now on to some mock drafts. A lot of the mocks have the user player JJ Shuttlesworth as the number 1 overall selection, but some argue the 6'9" small forward straight out of high school, Nasir Cunningham, has the best upside out of any player, and he should be the first pick. And overall, there is many great looking forwards in this draft, such as CJ Simmons and Ian Jackson. Simmons has been compared to such players like Paul George because of his good size and athleticism, paired while being able to play great defense and being able to hit the mid-range shot. A lot of options for the top drafting teams to select, but also a high potential player, of course, is OJ Tremblay, a very interesting talent. He's listed at 5'11", some say he may be as short as 5'9", and he's an amazing shooter that really fits in this era of basketball, but a lot of teams are scared to draft him high because of his size, and they're scared that will cause him to be a liability on defense and ultimately cap his potential for his career. It is now time for the 2025 NBA Draft, and the Rockets select with their first overall pick, OJ Tremblay, the point guard from Canada, the sharpshooter. What a high selection. He was projected low end of the lottery of first overall selection. That is a extreme shoot up from the draft boards. And Nasir Cunningham, a lot more of a predictable pick at number 2. He's going to be paired with Cade Cunningham and Victor Wembanyama in Detroit. Nasir Cunningham is a very flashy player, and just coming out of high school, some teams do worry about his maturity, but his levels of talent, it seems like he is a superstar in the making before he has even stepped foot on an NBA court. With the 3rd overall selection, the Blazers are going to pick the small forward CJ Simmons. The forwards are getting off the clock very often, and JJ Shuttlesworth, if he doesn't go 4, he has dropped slightly in that mock draft predictions. And with the 4th overall pick, the Pacers select Trenton Flowers, the 6'10" shooting guard, very tall, and some teams are looking at him to create a new era of basketball with his extreme height at the guard position. The Orlando Magic end up selecting Stephon Castleberry, the shooting guard, 6'6", another guard selected over JJ Shuttlesworth. And we have ourselves a trade. The Bulls are going to trade the 6th overall pick to the Golden State Warriors for Herb Jones, and the Golden State Warriors will select Jackie Howard, a shooting guard, 6'8", possibly to replace Stephen Curry. He has not retired yet. It seems like his retirement is coming next offseason, so this has to be a replacement for the legendary Steph Curry. And at power forward, the Raptors select Asa Noel, 6'10" power forward, the same height as the shooting guard Trenton Flowers, but at the forward position, he will be going to Toronto. And after that, Ian Jackson, who is very high on the boards, another forward to replace Pascal Siakam, who is surely leaving after this NBA draft ends up. And Andrew Gretsch going to the Atlanta Hawks, the 7'2" defensive anchor going to Atlanta, 7'2" from France. Possibly a replacement for Clint Capella, who's in the free agency market, and John Collins, who they've been saying they want to get rid of. And here it is. The Phoenix Suns pair up Devin Booker and the point guard JJ Shuttlesworth, who fell very low off the mock drafts due to some attitude complaints with some of the teams he worked out for, but he is still picked number 10, and the Suns are looking past the attitude and looking at the talent. And next we have another point guard selected, AJ Johnson, 6'6", drafted number 11. That is a little odd. They have Shai Gilgeous, they have Josh Giddey. That's a little confusing of a pick, but we'll see how it ends up. And the championship winning Utah Jazz select 6'7" Trey Johnson out of Texas. Possibly a James Harden replacement. He has not left or retired. This seems like just an insurance pickup for the Utah Jazz, but also 31 points per game Trey Johnson averaged in college, so not a bad talent pick either. And another pick for the Thunder, they pick another forward, Isaiah Evans out of North Carolina, a solid all-around player. Some have compared him to Scotty Barnes. Very skinny, very low weight, so he's gonna have to get his weight up in the NBA, and hopefully the trainers will get him right. And the Knicks are going to trade their 15th overall pick in the first round for the defensive center Miles Turner and Pat Connaughton. Miles Turner is also like Mitchell Robinson, another player they do have. Could you draft someone that ends up better than Turner? Possibly. And Jake Bean, the hustle, scrappy player out of South Carolina State. Jake Bean, the 6'6" small forward, of course compared to PJ Tucker, and players like Boris Diaw. Some did say he was a second round overall pick, but he went up the draft boards due to his hustle play and just the energy he brings. John Bull, the 7'3" center going to the Mavericks. Hopefully some help for Luka Doncic. Another center with the 24th pick, a 7'3" center, Martin Novak, a good scorer, good mid-range shooter, and good in the post. Not amazing defensively, but his height, hopefully he will learn some of the defensive fundamentals and get a good all-around game to help out Paulo Banchero and the Orlando Magic in the future to hopefully make the playoffs once again. And the Knicks are on the clock, and once again they will end up trading their pick the 26th pick for another center, Yusuf Nurkic. And with that being said, you have the first round of the NBA draft. That's all we're going to be looking at. Very, very surprising pick for the Rockets. They pick OJ Tremblay, a point guard who is Izzy Ball's position, so this may be the writing on the wall that the Houston Rockets are moving on from Izzy Ball. And now, after Doc Rivers ended up retiring, the 76ers replace him with another former NBA player, Sam Cassell, just a little interesting. And Miles Bridges is going to the Raptors. He will end up leaving the Lakers after LeBron retired, and he is getting a $70 million deal to play in Canada. And the Lakers are going to sign Rudy Gobert. They feel like their back is against the wall. They need AD to get some help. They also signed Jonathan Kuminga to a huge contract. So they are really trying to get AD to stay. And we'll see if AD ends up requesting a trade later on. We now have the news. The Toronto Raptors are moving on from Pascal Siakam. They finally get rid of him. They also get rid of OG Anunoby after they drafted the power forward and small forward in the 7th and 8th pick in the first round this year. And they end up getting James Wiseman and a first round pick and 2 second round picks. I'm not gonna lie to you, I think the Raptors lost this trade, but let me know what you think. Aaron Gordon, a very solid player, is going to the team that just lost the NBA Finals, the Charlotte Hornets. The Hornets are also going to trade Keegan Murray and a first round pick for an upgrade at the same position for Andrew Wiggins, a vital piece to the Golden State Warriors championship against the Boston Celtics. A very good defensive player and a capable scorer if needed. A great pickup for the Hornets. And finally, as well, the Hawks are getting rid of John Collins for a bag of peanuts. The Nets get rid of Kyrie Irving and Nick Claxton for Desmond Bane and a first round pick, as well as Nasir Little, which means we will be seeing a backcourt consisting of John Morant and Kyrie Irving, as well as a front court of Jaren Jackson Jr. and John Collins. A very dangerous team with the scoring ability of Kyrie Irving mixed with the athleticism of John Morant. A team that's already been good in the regular season. They just need to put it together in the playoffs. We will see how far they can go next season. And now we have possibly the biggest move of the entire free agency. Atlanta Hawks is trading Trae Young to the Phoenix Suns. In return, they receive Kevin Porter Jr., Franz Wagner, a first round pick in 2026, and a 2028 first round pick that is top 5 protected. And that is one amazing backcourt as well. They are getting a explosive offense in that backcourt from the guards. Trae Young and Devin Booker were atop the league's highest scorers last season in points per game. Devin Booker has had no real help since DeAndre Ayton was traded to the Houston Rockets and Chris Paul signed to Milwaukee. But not a bad move at all by the Phoenix front office. And now we have the sophomore Paul Thompson, who ends up leaving the Washington Wizards after 2 seasons that range from mediocre to downright terrible. And another move by the Los Angeles Lakers to get a star to pair up with Anthony Davis. But after this move, it does seem like many fans believe AD is finally happy and ready to play again for the Lakers. So job well done by this front office to help out AD to try to get their first ring since 2020. And the Bucks end up finalizing 2 moves to help out their franchise superstar and end up getting a deal done with the Clippers for Paul George. PG-13 is now 34 years old, and this may be the last season he is truly the Paul George of old. And this is clearly a move to get Giannis a lot more help since Drew Holiday was aging and Chris Paul was aging so much that he was 40 years old and ended up retiring. The Hawks, waving the white flag, decided to go full rebuild mode and let go of everybody, including DeJounte Murray, who they give up to the New Orleans Pelicans to potentially build the next great team down in Louisiana. Speaking of another rebuilding franchise, the Clippers let go of 34-year-old Kawhi Leonard in exchange for Kobe White and multiple picks. And with this, Kawhi brings back a duo back into Philadelphia, while the Sixers didn't even have to give up Tyrese Maxey, completing a big three with other solid contributors like Kelly Oubre Jr., Buddy Hield, and Tobias Harris. And now, for the long-awaited Izzy Ball finally makes his decision. I'ma let the man himself take the floor.
I've been thinking about this decision all summer long, just reflecting back to Houston in the first 2 years I've been here, very appreciative. I'm honored to be the number 1 overall pick. I've been thinking about this decision all summer, but after looking at all the offers, the money, the situation, all of that, and thinking about what's best for my career, I will be heading to
that boy Laurie. MTCB.
New Orleans is making a statement. We here, and we ain't playing, and you gonna have to come through us in the Western Conference, and everybody better stand up and take notice.